Ya ma a da. What's goody to the goddess and the gods, and what's popping to the people. Now, I got certain individuals who guaranteed me that I wasn't gonna start the show on time, but they not here on time. I got a new sweatsuit. I don't want y'all to see that jet. That's gonna be super fly. I've been in my purple royalty phase lately, so I've been rocking a lot of purple. But let me send these bomb threats out, man, and get this party started. Get ready for this, so I ain't even gonna. Maybe charger too, which I don't seem to have. But wait a minute. It's right here. And then I got some I just feel like we do better when y'all get to see some of the stuff I see. So that's why we've been doing I've been going heavy with the clips lately. So there we go. Wait for the crowd to be on my head. You feel me? So I've been heavy with the clips lately, so that y'all can get some real good visuals. There's gonna be a got me looking blacker than I need to be looking. Is what the problem is. So what we're gonna do is I got a super heavy video. I time stamped it so we ain't gotta watch it all the way through. We're gonna get through as much of it as we can, and then we'll do the rest on Clubhouse. But I'm telling y'all, this is fire. So I'm gonna send out a couple invites, and then we're gonna get to it. Where's you know what? Never do that. Let me just do that. How about I just send this thing out live right now? That would make more sense, right? That would make more sense. So share the live, man. Share the live. Show your boy some love. Share the live. Share the live. Share the live. We going down. Get it popping. Mama, how you gonna ask me about something and then you won't even? Boy, I tell you, my mama sometime. My mama sometime. And a lot of y'all need to be watching this. Y'all just think you're smarter than what she is. That's the problem right there. A lot of y'all think you're smarter than what you is, so you don't want to learn nothing new. Some of this stuff will save your damn life if you wasn't so hard headed. So there's a there's always a thing going on, man, that's bigger than what you know. And if you're not willing to explore that, then how you gonna enlighten yourself? How you gonna know shit? How you gonna get most of y'all satisfied with not having any additional information? Like you just know what you know and you don't study nothing else. And then the news come on, you watch the news, add that to what you already know, and you got an opinion, which is fine. But then once it gets to a space where it becomes debatable and you're willing to debate it, then you need to be better informed. Information is currency. Why y'all so scared of information? That's what I wonder. What is the big deal? Why is everybody so scared of information? The it's election time. And so what's happening is a lot of y'all have opinions on Kamala, Trump, Biden, things like that. And it's okay to have an opinion about anything you choose. But what I am saying is if you feel like you should vote, and in your heart, forget what everybody else, for just in your heart, which is most people in their heart know that they haven't really truly looked into things. So if you know you haven't truly looked into things, and then you get on social media or you at the workplace, wherever, and you hear a group of people saying we shouldn't vote, why would you argue that? And you know you haven't truly looked in it. Why not? Why wouldn't you say, I don't agree with that, I think you should vote? They make a couple points and then you go look into it. But what happens is we don't look into shit. We just argue what we think we know. And so for me, things are a lot more simple. You deal with what's concrete and you work from there. So what's concrete is this country was built off colonization. That's important. This country was built off colonization. This country was built on stolen land. So the people who run your country, the people who birthed this country, they stole the land from someone else and built a world superpower on stolen land. And y'all say, well, that was the old days, things have changed. Here's how you know things haven't changed. They gave the Native Americans selective spots in little ghetto ass regions across the country, just like they did black folks. And that's it. You took a whole country, and then you didn't take it from them, really, but you think you did. So fine, let's go with it. You took a whole country, and you gave people a check and some projects to stay in. If you really were sorry, why they didn't give it back? If you're really sorry about slavery, why is it so hard for black folks to get reparations? See, these are the things that y'all choose to ignore. But let me tell you why I can't ignore it. Because these are statements of character. Your character is your faith. These are statements of character. So the character of the people who built this nation, they stole it. The character of the people who currently run this nation, they'll admit the thievery, but won't do anything about it. So what that essentially means is they're not really sorry. If I rob you and drain your bank account, then I take you out for dinner and give you a couple of thousand. This is It's a game being played, and we choose to overlook it. But the thing is, what they say, receipts. So let's come with the receipts. Because what we can show is that this country was not built how you think, by who you think, for the purposes in which you think. Now, here's the Yahweh Uma. Here's the kicker. I told y'all, all wars are religious wars. This is all about religion. Everything, every war is a religious war. Now, here's the irony of it. The people promoting the religions don't live by the religious tenets. Watch how simple this is. They say that this is a Christian nation. When you go to court, you swear on the Bible before they execute you. They let you go talk to a priest. This is a Christian nation. Well, I'm not a Christian, but I'm somewhat familiar with the Ten Commandments. And I know at least one of them says, "Thou shalt not kill." It doesn't say, "Thou shalt not kill," except if you want to take somebody's country from them and all their resources. No, it says, "Thou shalt not kill." So that's problematic because the United States Army kills. Um, and we promote it. We brag about it. Now, I know that seems like, well, you overreacted. Just hear me out. So, if thou shall not kill, but you can in the name of the country. Okay. Well, then that puts in question the religious tenets. But remember what we just said. Every war is a religious war. So how can you have religious wars if thou shall not kill? It says that you shall not covet another man's wife. Our society is built on infidelity, not family values. They promote it. So what I'm trying to get you now, these are small points, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is for the people in power, these rules are for you to abide by. They've been catching popes and religious figures with prostitutes for a couple hundred years, for hundreds of years. So if the highest level of religion can lead the charge in pedophilia on one end, murder and pay for prostitutes on the other end. So here's the bottom line to this. What this means, and the reason why I took y'all all through that is simple. It shows you that the religion is merely a tool. They don't actually believe it. That was the point. Because you would, these things, okay, you're always going to have somebody foul. Things are always, you always have that one or two. But the Vatican City has a history of corruption, prostitution, drugs, pedophilia, and everything. This is the religious mecca of the planet. It's the religious hierarchy of the planet, which means they don't really believe what they're telling you to believe. So we're going to show you how they literally hid everything behind the papacy. And all of y'all got to do is see, y'all think I'm just up here saying shit. If you just follow my last couple lectures, I did Rome on Repeat 1 and 2. I did the Jesus lecture right before that. I'm walking y'all. A year ago I did the Bewitched thing. And if we get a chance, I might even play that tonight. I'm walking y'all through a series of all interconnected events to show you who you're really dealing with. And the crazy part is, I always bring the receipts. I never get up here and just say shit I can't prove. Share, like, subscribe, something, anything. Because we're going to get heavy. Bring your content to Chatter Social. Hey, what's going on, Kareem? I downloaded the app. I don't know what to do now. They told me I need a link or some shit like that. So I downloaded the app. I got it on here, but I don't know what to do after that. Y'all got to give me a link or show me how to get in there. I'll come all day tomorrow. I ain't got shit to do. I'll be at work. As soon as y'all get in there tomorrow, send me a link, man, and let's get it. This I can send you. Yeah, send me an invite. And I come in there and rock with y'all tomorrow, man. I definitely want to get in there. You say y'all be debating over there. I need some new debates. My title was on the line all the time. I'm ready for. I need a title fight ASAP. They think I'm only nice with religion. I get on some other topics. I'm just crucial with this religion, but I get on some other topics. So now, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show I got 5 clips that I'm gonna show. None of them exceed 10 minutes, I don't think. 10, 11 minutes. And what I'm gonna show y'all is a pattern. Like how we broke down the CIA and the Vatican. Now watch this. Okay, appreciate it, God. I would love to come in there and rock with y'all, man. So now you got the CIA, the Mafia, and the Vatican. Now we have to be able to see how everything is interconnected. Why does the Vatican keep popping up in these things, in these conversations? Now, who is the Vatican? Rome. Now, I did Rome on repeat for what purpose? To show y'all what they did with Rome is they switched the power. So the empire was about to fall to the monarchy. They couldn't fight that. So what they did was they made Rome the religious stronghold of the planet. So y'all can do all the shit you want to do with war. But see, the people, not the rulers don't give a shit. People need a God or something to follow. So rulers give you religion because it keeps you in line and it gives you something to worship. Keep your mind off politics. Religion keep people's mind off politics because religion give you all your answers. It tell you what to do. It tell you what God's doing. It tells you how to behave. Anytime you can't figure out what to do, you can go in your Bible and there's something in the Bible that'll tell you how to behave. And it all equates to praise God and Jesus and don't do anything. So now, religion is created for the people who are being ruled over. So as religion starts to spread, it's like a popular trend. Nobody wants to be a part of a religion that's on the downslide because you lose followers. Followers is finance. See, it's always a dollar at the back of this. The more followers, the more donations and contributions. So now, what happens is this right here. Rome, courtesy of what the Greeks did prior to Christianity, it's not called Christianity yet. But this new religion that's taken form, first it was Serapion worship. Serapion worship was just phase one of Christianity. So now the Romans had Serapion worship also, but they also had other gods. Now, this Rome thing, this Serapion worship becomes Christianity. Now, what's the point? You need a religious banner to conquer and rule over people. This is where the world is at now. Everybody is under some type of religious umbrella. That's what kingdoms are being ruled under. What is your God? What God do you worship? Rome concretes itself through Constantine. Constantine makes Christianity wide open. Now, overnight, it becomes the biggest religion on the planet. Rome is the powerful regime on the planet. These two go together. So as the empire of Rome is falling, you still have the papacy still has the stronghold on the religion itself. So in order to get things accomplished, you need the grace of the Pope. So this keeps Rome from, we talking thousands, 2,000 years in power. And now, if Rome fell, how the fuck is the Vatican the only place on the planet that is self-governed and nobody has say over it other than the Pope? They don't have to answer to anybody on the planet. They got gold ceilings and shit. Well, if a fall off lead me to my own country that nobody can say shit about and I got gold ceilings, then let me fall off. Fuck it. So it's cap. This whole fall of Rome didn't happen. Now, what you have is a couple times in history where the plan got foiled and power got consolidated. So this is what you think is the fall of Rome. Now, let's rock. We got to get these clips in. This is about to be heavy. Okay, guy, I'm gonna tap into those links ASAP. Damn, you should I wonder is it how do I get them? Because let me see something. Let me see something real quick while we up here. Because I don't even know if I can get them off of here. Let me see. Hold on 1 second, y'all. My apologies, but I really want to where's the okay, here we go. Hold on. All right, okay. Let me see if it's a way to get it said message pinned. I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna find it. Damn. Let me see. Now how do I find that? I pinned. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully I can find it when I get off of here. Oh yeah, let me get this real quick for y'all. My fault. No, I ain't gonna leave the studio. I'm trying to. Is it this one right here? Yeah, shit. Let me share my screen. 1 second, y'all. Let me share my screen. Okay. Here I come, y'all. Here I come. History. This right here. What's my first timestamp is my first timestamp 27. Okay, wait. I think it's right here. Okay. StreamYard. Share. Wait. Just one. Share. Okay, y'all. We rocking. Now let me
began to expel the Jesuits from their borders. This culminated in the suppression or abolishment of the Jesuits in 1773. In that year, Pope Clement, the Catholic Church, and many of the governments of the world. In 1773, all of that changed. One by one, countries began to expel the Jesuits from their borders. This culminated in the suppression or abolishment of the Jesuits in 1773. In that year, Pope Clement XIV officially disbanded the order forever. This providential act enabled a nation based on religious liberty to be formed, the United States of America. At the same time in history as the Jesuits were suppressed, the American Revolution occurred. Many believe this was no accident, but an act of God.
I see the suppression of the Jesuits as providential, because without the suppression of the Jesuit order, there is no successful American Revolution.
Okay, so I just wanted y'all to see that part first, that because we're gonna get into who the Jesuits are, but I needed y'all to hear that. So now hold on for a second. I'm gonna make it make sense in 1 second.
The button we push, do I need to be inside, outside, what is it? And that's what they'll do. We need to bring down the Pentagon today. We need to blow up Arizona in Pearl Harbor in 1941. Okay, I'll be there. What's my orders? They're all under orders. And this is why you can have no country. with a Jesuit presence in it. They have to be expelled. And all their agents that they work through must be expelled. And this is exactly what Tsar Alexander I did in 1820. He kicked out all the Jesuits out of Russia. In 1822, he shut down all the Masonic lodges. And in 1825, he was poisoned. So this is the Jesuit mindset, and we should read the spiritual exercises. We should read some of their works. We need to read the Jesuit doctrines of regicide, how it's no murder to kill like the power of the Jesuit order. If that means killing kings or sinking ships, even if it causes their own death, they do it for the greater glory of God. Ad majority Dei glory.
When a Jesuit priest is elevated to a position of high command, he is administered what is called the Jesuit Extreme Oath of Induction. This oath has been called the fourth vow, or the blood oath, given to those in the Society of Jesus besides the traditional vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. A copy of the Extreme Oath can be found in the Congressional Record.
I want to read a statement to you, which is the Jesuit Oath. It says, this is the Jesuit Oath. I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, that's from the Spiritual Exercises of Loyola, or any mental reservation whatever, even as a corpse or cadaver, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope. I furthermore promise and declare that I will make and wage relentless war, as I am directed to do, to extirpate and exterminate Protestants and liberals from the face of the whole earth. I will neither spare age, sex, or condition. I will hang, burn, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the wall, in order to annihilate forever their execrable race. And then it goes on. The point being, throughout the history of the Jesuit order, they will shoot, they will burn, they will flay, they will do whatever it takes to destroy anybody who stands in the way of what they want to do.
In 2009, the Jesuit general was confronted about the oath.
One of the things in your Jesuit high oath, I think it says something about, furthermore, you promise to declare that you'll, at the first opportunity, seek war and any opportunity against heretics, Protestants, liberals. See here, and that will spare neither age nor sex nor condition, and I will hang, waste, boil, flays. You've never seen this before?
No, never seen it.
Strangle, bury alive. It's horrible. And I was like, look, it's in the congressional record.
Thank you very much.
Does the oath and activities of the Jesuit reflect anything Christian? Or is it, as Jesus said, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves? What else do we know about the Jesuits? They've been thrown out of 83 countries over the last 500 years. That is correct. 83 countries have physically removed them. And why was it necessary to remove them? In a word, power. The Jesuits have throughout history sought to take over and control every country in which they reside. Since their beginning in 1540, the Jesuits' power grew until they controlled the papacy, the Roman Catholic Church, and many of the governments of the world. In 1773, all of that changed. One by one, countries began to expel the Jesuits from their borders. This culminated in the suppression or abolishment of the Jesuits in 1773. In that year,
Now let's make it make sense a little bit. Who are the Jesuits? They're called the Society of Jesus, a Roman Catholic order of religious men founded by Saint Ignatius of Loyola. It's also the hold on. Now it's by the soldier turned mystic Ignatius. So now this is a military order. Hold on, Jesuit. It's the company of Jesus and were nicknamed God's Marines for their willingness to go anywhere. Are the Jesuits soldiers? Because Ignatius had been a soldier before he dedicated his life to the church as a monk and priest, Jesuits have been called foot soldiers of the Pope. The order began in Paris when Ignatius and 6 friends took mutual oaths of poverty and chastity and vowed to dedicate themselves to hospital and missionary work. Well, whatever, we know about that. But foot soldiers of the Pope. So this is the muscle of the Pope. Now, so when we keep saying Jesuits, these are military trained people dressed like monks, weaseling into your community under the guise of religion and wreaking havoc. Why were they kicked out of 83? What do you have to do to get kicked out of? These are religious people. How do religious people get kicked out of 83 countries? Religious people? Monks? That's the little bald guy in the robe. He all peaceful and shit. What is he doing to get kicked out of 83 countries? Let's keep cooking, though.
Pope Clement XIV officially disbanded the order forever. This providential act enabled a nation based on religious liberty to be formed, the United States of America. At the same time in history, as the Jesuits were suppressed, the American Revolution occurred. Many believe this was no accident, but an act of God.
I see the suppression of the Jesuits as providential.
Now, this is where the sleight of hand comes from. This is where the slick shit come in at. Because if you got these Roman Catholic dudes getting, the monks, they're getting kicked out of country after country after country. So they're losing, outwardly, they're losing power and position. So now what the Catholic Church is doing is suppression of the religion. So the Catholic Church got a stronghold on religion. Nobody else is allowed to express. And these are people who are still, they're still Christians, but they don't agree with the Pope. Basically has declared himself God on earth. And so you have other religious people that understand this goes against the original teachings. So a lot of people are rebelling against the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church is forcing it. So after they start globally shunning them, this opens the doorway for other people to practice other things. Now, That's one piece of looking at it. The other side is there's finance and politics going on. You have the Masonic lodges have already been infiltrated. See, so this is the problem. So at one end, it looks like that, okay, we've shut down the Catholic Church, suppression religion everywhere. So then they get smart and say, all right, we building a nation of religious freedom. So if it's religious freedom, that means Catholics could be there too. So this gives them another opportunity to slowly slide in. So right before you get the American Revolution and the building of America, you get the simultaneously as they're shutting down all of these Jesuit orders. The Jesuits are the people who put Adam Weishaupt in his seat. Adam Weishaupt is allegedly the guy who started the Illuminati. That was a Jesuit order. They put Adam Weishaupt in position. So when they're talking about this is simultaneously them shutting down Jesuit orders, they're also talking about them shutting down. They just don't want to say Illuminati in this, but this is the same thing. They're shutting down. They try to go underground and hide as monks, and they're getting all that shit shut down. So what do they do next? They infiltrate the Masonic lodges. This is where they start hiding at. So by the time you get to George Washington and them, they think they're breaking away from the establishment, but they're Masons. So this is another instance where the people in the front are being puppeteered and don't know which direction they're going in. So you'll see how they pit each other. This is why when there's a war, they fund both sides. And steer things in the direction they want them to go in. So the guys, George Washington, them, they tired of the suppression of the monarchy, so they're breaking off, go start their own thing. But they're Masons, not knowing their thing has been infiltrated. So they're still going to get stirred in the same direction. And we are of the mind state that when you start talking about presidential assassinations, we think of Kennedy and Lincoln. What about George Washington? They poisoned George Washington. See, that's my point. They used him and then they poisoned him. So ever since the beginning, your country was infiltrated. It was put together by some bandits who ran off from the establishment, but little did they know they were on the tape through the Masonic lodges, so they were still running back into the people they were trying to run away from. So through the door, America got shaped a certain kind of way. This has been from day one. So if George Washington was poisoned, which is a fact that he was, they didn't poison him for no reason. So obviously, whoever poisoned they're saying he's the first president. Now, we know he wasn't, but that's neither here nor there. We got him in inauguration in the Masonic apron. We know he was a Mason. Okay. So, someone had a reason to want to poison the first American president. There was something they were trying to accomplish. Now, usually, if I poison the head of a company, it's usually because I have somebody that can step into their position that wasn't going to get there any other way. So, here's something you can understand historically. Every time you see an assassinated president, you can guarantee whoever takes their place is the mole. The whole reason why the president is getting killed is so that the next person can take their place. That person, if they weren't on the take already, we'd wait to kill the president until we had someone. So the fact that as soon as the president gets killed, somebody moves into that space, that's the person they really wanted. Which means after they killed and poisoned George Washington, whoever came after him was part of the establishment. So after even if you want to be naive and say George Washington was a good president, they killed him, and whoever took over after him is on the tape. So since the second president, at least you haven't had your country. And then we're gonna go on Clubhouse, and I'm gonna break this whole thing down. I'm gonna show y'all why they killed Lincoln. Lincoln was a lawyer, and so the first problem was he defended someone that they didn't want defended, and so that was his first time rubbing the powers that be the wrong way. But they see how they could manipulate his do-gooder side, and so they allowed him to move into the presidency because they knew him being a do-gooder was gonna ultimately work in their favor because it was gonna create the Civil War. And so they wanted the Civil War. It had nothing to do with slavery. And that's why I'm telling y'all, it's always things going on the backside that's got nothing to do with the stuff that y'all know. That's why we have to study and dig into this stuff. So now, the country was never legit through the door. Because look at all of this stuff going on in the backfold that we don't know nothing about. None of this stuff we're talking about tonight is in the history books. They don't talk about the Jesuit order. Nobody knows what that is. But how could the army, we know about the papacy, we know about the Vatican, we know all of these things, but we never hear about The Jesuits, they muscle. Why? I'll tell you why. Because the Pope that you see is the equivalent of the United States president. He's a front man. The real Pope is this guy on my flyer, the black Pope, the guy who was just talking to us, pretending he didn't know what that lady was talking about. That's the real Pope. That's the one that's really in power. As much power as can be had in these situations, anyway. So let me see let me see where we are right here for a second.
Because without the suppression of the Jesuit order, there is no successful American Revolution. Period. We have to understand that the Protestants and the Baptists of Europe had been persecuted in excess of 200 years, crying out to the Lord for some place to live where they could worship.
Would allow all religions to exist in America, not just religions based on the Protestant Bible. In the new American Republic, Roman Catholicism was allowed to coexist with the Protestant denominations, as well as the deistic Freemasons. But most importantly, the Roman Catholics were allowed to vote just like any other citizens. This was key, as we shall see later on. For as their numbers increased, Roman Catholics could put in power other Roman Catholics, or those who were sympathetic to them, and change the nation from within.
After the Revolutionary War, voting rights of Catholics did change. We know that one of the signers of the Constitution was a Roman Catholic. There was only one, Mr. Carroll, but nonetheless, it made it look like a place for Roman Catholics to come, as well as Protestants to have religious liberty, which is absurd. The Roman Catholic people had been used by the priests to kill us for centuries, and so why not stay in Europe? Well, they were being used by the Jesuits to come here to ultimately then take over political power and then submit North America to the feet of the Pope.
Turning from the happenings with the American colonies, let us take a moment to investigate what the Jesuits were up to in Europe after their suppression. As we might guess, the Jesuits were not idle. They decided to seek revenge against those who had turned on them, specifically a traitorous Pope and the Catholic monarchs of Europe. In 1774, a year after the Jesuits were disbanded forever,
Pope Clement XIV had suppressed the Jesuits, and a short time later, he was poisoned. Poison is a big thing with these guys.
Pope Clement stated, "Alas, I knew they would poison me, but I did not expect to die in so slow and cruel a manner." A post-mortem examination of his body revealed the presence of a poison. Thus, the Jesuits rid themselves of a troublesome pope. The vendetta on the Catholic monarchs of Europe was approached in a less obvious manner. Cleverly, the Jesuits determined not to act in their own name, but decided to work through front groups and to have them take the blame for their revenge. In this way, the Jesuits would continue to appear to be disbanded and innocent of any involvement in the matter. The first front group the Jesuits used was called the Illuminati. The Illuminati was organized in Bavaria by a Jesuit professor, Adam Weishaupt, on May 1, 1776, just 3 years after the Jesuits were disbanded. Many sources only casually mention that Weishaupt was a former Jesuit, and they usually state he was an ex-Jesuit. In reality, Weishaupt never left the order. As for the order itself, it never was truly disbanded.
In Bavaria, when the Illuminati was founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, Weishaupt was used by the Jesuits then to continue the work of the Jesuit order under another name. Weishaupt never repudiated the Jesuits. That's a lie of many, many conspiratorial historians controlled by the Pope. They want to create this dichotomy between the Illuminati and the Jesuits. Never fall for it. Weishaupt was operating under orders from a superior. Ritchie at the time was a general, and then later another superior. Weishaupt then enters into an alliance with the House of Rothschild. So now we see the Rothschilds, the Jewish Rothschilds, Red Shield, become the bankers for the Jesuit order during the upheaval we will know as the French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars. So this alliance between the Jesuits and the House of Rothschild, these high-level Masonic Jews, is very important to realize at this point because we have to live with it and deal with it today. Also, Bavaria is the stronghold of the Jesuits. There was a huge inquisitional torture chamber there in Nuremberg. Interesting that the Nuremberg trials and Nazis would be held there.
And the very principles of the Illuminati, the way the organization was run, it's the very principles of the Jesuit order, and that's found in Nestor Webster's book called Secret Societies.
In 1814, Francois Charles de Berkheim reported on Germany's secret societies and stated, "The oldest and most dangerous association is that which is generally known under the denomination of the Illumines, and of which the foundation goes back towards the middle of the last century. Bavaria was its cradle. It is said that it had for founders several chiefs of the order of the Jesuits. Through the Illuminati, the Jesuits sought to take over various powerful secret societies, especially the higher degrees of Freemasonry.
If you study all of the different organizations in the world, whether it be the Knights of Malta,
I don't know if y'all noticed, but on that flag, on that Jesuit flag they just sold, did y'all see the skull and crossbone? So when you see these rappers with the skull and crossbone, and you see Harvard with the skull and crossbone, that lets you know this is all Jesuit control. The skull and crossbone, the pirate ship, skull and crossbone. This is Jesuit control. That's their logo.
the Bilderbergers, the Club of Rome, the Council on Foreign Relations. As you study all these different groups, and the Knights of Malta would be included in that, you find that they are like a buffer behind which the Jesuit order operates.
In his book, Proofs of a Conspiracy, John T. Robison wrote concerning the Masonic lodges. At this time, 1798, the Jesuits interfered considerably, insinuating themselves into the lodges. Robison went on to say, this society is well known to have put on every shape and to have made use of every mean that could promote the power and influence of the order. And we know that at this time they were by no means without hopes of re-establishing the dominion of the Church of Rome in England. And with the Illuminati and the higher orders of Freemasonry, the Jesuits fomented the destruction of the very monarchs who had opposed them, beginning with the French Revolution and later with Napoleon Bonaparte.
The French Revolution was launched and waged by the Jesuits using Grand Orient Freemasonry and Scottish Rite Freemasonry in England for the purpose of punishing the Roman Catholic monarchs of Europe, taking back the Vatican Empire from the Pope, tearing away the colonies from England, Protestant England. They were doing several things at one time. Remember, the Jesuits are the great Hegelians. They can think along 10, 20, 50 different lines at the same time and coordinate them all together. So to understand what we do, we have to think dialectically. We can never think linearly. So the purpose of the French Revolution, first and foremost, was to punish the Roman Catholic monarchs of Europe. And that they did. What happened? Well, they beheaded Louis XVI, the grandson of Louis XV. We're going to teach you Bourbons in France, who you mess with, who you suppress the Jesuits. And then what to behead his wife, Marie Antoinette. And she was the daughter of Maria Theresa. She was a Habsburg. So we're going to punish you, Habsburgs. You suppress us, we're going to cut off the head of Marie Antoinette using our Jacobins. And then you Braganzas of Portugal.
Now that's crazy. That's why I love information, because we all heard of Marie Antoinette and her head getting cut off. We never knew why. Now we know why. She was her husband. They cut her head off because of her husband. Her husband was one of the Catholic priests or one of the Catholic popes in Europe who had, you remember, they got kicked out of 83 countries. So everybody that had something to do with banning them, now it's the big payback. So now that we done got our foothold in America and we working that, now the money we making off that, we're going to use this to crush our enemies everywhere else. So this is a hostile takeover. They even taking over the papacy. They taking over everything. So the right hand of the Pope and took over the whole thing. So the protectors then took over the whole operation.
We're going to drive you into exile using Napoleon. And they did. They had to go to South America. And New Bourbons in Spain, we're going to drive you into exile too. We're going to have Napoleon set up a little banana republic up here in Spain. And and then the Knights of Malta, how dare you kick us off their island of Malta in 1768? We're going to teach you a lesson. So they took Napoleon down here with his huge fleet, took all the treasures of the Knights of Malta, and took all their weapons so that they could use that in the invasion of Egypt. At which time the Jesuits used Napoleon to kill all the Mamelukes, the bodyguard of the Caliph of Egypt. So now they're waging war against Islam like they are today.
When Napoleon's usefulness came to an end, the Jesuits had him betray his soldiers in a war with Russia. Like many of the founding fathers of America, the French soldiers were very nationalistic, and they would be a problem in the future plans of the Jesuits. After his defeat in Russia, Napoleon was forced to abdicate. Working in the shadows, the Jesuits made sure he was kept in reserve should he be needed. So Napoleon was sent to the island of Elba and given an annual pension of 2 million francs. Then, on August 7, 1814, the unthinkable occurred. Pope Pius VII restored the Jesuit order.
The Jesuits were revived in 1814 with the papal bull by Pope Pius VII, which brought them back into existence.
The suppression of the Jesuits was to last forever. It only lasted 41 years. Former U.S. President John Adams wrote to Thomas Jefferson in 1816 about the rebirth of the Jesuits and the danger they posed to America. Adams stated plainly, "I do not like the resurrection of the Jesuits. They have a general now in Russia, in correspondence with the Jesuits in the United States, who are more numerous than anybody knows. Shall we not have swarms of them here, in as many disguises as only a king of the gypsies can assume, dressed as painters, publishers, writers, and schoolmasters? I have lately read Pascal's letters over again, and 4 volumes of the history of the Jesuits. If ever any congregation of men could merit eternal perdition on earth and in hell, it is this company of Loyola." Jefferson replied back to Adams, "Like you, I disapprove of the restoration of the Jesuits, for it means a step backward from light into darkness." Coincidentally, the restoration of the order occurred 1 month before the first meeting of the Congress of Vienna in 1814. The Jesuits were deeply involved in this meeting. When the monarchs of Europe began fighting among themselves, the Jesuits manipulated the circumstances to bring Napoleon back for an encore performance, the famous 100 Days. The monarchs gathered in Vienna came to terms quickly in order to meet this renewed threat, the Jesuits' careful manipulation of the events being played out like a chess game. Again, it must be remembered that the Society of Jesus never wanted to do away with kings. The Jesuits only wanted to punish those who had suppressed the order. In March of 1815, 9 days after the Congress of Vienna ended, Napoleon led his patriotic monarchy-hating men to defeat by attacking the wrong spot of the British lines at Waterloo.
The Battle of Waterloo was deliberately lost by Napoleon, as explicated by our great Southern General Thomas Jonathan Stonewall Jackson when he reviewed the battlefield. And you can find this in Dabney's great work, his biography that he wrote on Stonewall Jackson called The Life and Times of Stonewall Jackson. And when Jackson went there, he said, Napoleon attacked from the wrong position. He should have attacked over here. And
now, I thought this was dope because if y'all remember, I brought this same thing up when we was breaking down Hitler. I said Hitler got back intel. Remember, they backed both sides. So they was backing Russia and they was backing Hitler because it was freezing over there. A lot of Hitler's army starved in battle trying to go to Russia. Who gave them that horrible? So he led his troops to slaughter and then he disappeared. And then we found out those wasn't his dental records. So it was send your guys off and we're gonna slide you out the back door. They took him somewhere, remade him, made him a Catholic priest in is it Australia? Look up Hitler in SS in Australia and see what you come up with. I'm almost positive it's Australia. You're gonna be surprised. So I just wanted to point out that they always use the same moves. So they're showing you historically how when they want to do away with an army, okay, the Hitler had served his purpose. His purpose was to exterminate a certain amount of Jews to fulfill biblical prophecy and give the Jews a stronghold, a financial stronghold on inner America. Right after the Jews get reparations for the Nazi Germany thing, like a year or two later, they start Hollywood. All of this shit be connected. You just gotta look for the thread. You just gotta look for the thread. These people slick.
that's exactly what happened. Napoleon deliberately sacrificed his army at Waterloo so that there would be the least amount of true patriots in France to resist the return of King Louis XVIII into France to immediately restore the Jesuits and restore the Inquisition.
Having no further need of Napoleon, the Jesuits made sure he was sent far away to the island St. Helena in the South Atlantic. While there, he was poisoned and died in 1821. In his memoirs, Napoleon maintained his loyalty to the Catholic Church, but had this to say about the Jesuits. The Jesuits are a military organization, not a religious order. Their chief is a general of an army, not the mere father abbot of a monastery. And the aim of this organization is power. Power in its most despotic exercise. Absolute power, universal power, power to control the world by the volition of a single man. We have stated that the Jesuits were deeply involved in the Congress of Vienna. Ostensibly, this meeting of the monarchs of Europe under the direction of the Jesuits was for the purpose of reorganizing Europe, restoring the balance of power, and discussing the creation of a federation of Europe. According to author Burt McCarty, the Congress of Vienna and several other secret meetings were in reality black conspiracy against popular governments.
After the Constitution is signed, Protestant principles are put in place in the United States. You go into the early 1800s, the Napoleonic Wars are being fought in Europe, in Russia, but
You well know that what we aim at is the empire of the world. As to their plan for working in Jesuit plan for world domination, a young novice named Leone was in the adjoining library. Leone could not believe his ears,
Okay.
and the Jesuits gathered for this clandestine Italy in 1825.
to that effect. But that's why the Monroe Doctrine was written.
Here it comes.
The Jesuits convened a meeting in Cheri, Italy in 1825 to discuss tactics for dealing with the Protestant nations. Unknown to the 13 Jesuits gathered for this clandestine meeting, a young novice named Leone was in the adjoining library. Leone could not believe his ears and began to take notes of what was being said for posterity. An English translation appeared in 1848. What Leone heard was no less than the Jesuit plan for world domination and the destruction of heretics, especially the heretics in Protestant America. As to the Jesuit plan for world government, you well know that what we aim at is the empire of the world. As to their plan for working in secret, let us prefer a secret war, which, though less brilliant, is more sure to bring us the advantage. Let us shun too much light. As to the Pope, also known as the Vicar of Christ, we may say that God designs for extermination, like the Canaanites, all the nations that obstinately refuse to enter into the unity of the church, and that the Vicar of Jesus Christ is appointed to execute these judgments in due time. As to Protestant and non-Roman Catholics who do not join Rome, we have, however, one source of rejoicing. We cherish at the bottom of our hearts this principle that whatever does not unite with us must be annihilated. That Protestantism must therefore be utterly abolished. As to the Bible, then the Bible, that serpent which, with head erect and eyes flashing fire, threatens us with its venom whilst it trails along the ground, shall be changed again into a rod as soon as we are able to seize it. And what wounds will we not inflict with it upon these hardened pharaohs and their cunning magicians? The Monroe Doctrine was ratified in 1823. The Jesuit meeting in Cheri, Italy, took place in 1825. 1 year later, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on the same day. Both of these former presidents and defenders of the Constitution died on July 4th, 1826. What are the odds that these two men, so critical to the birth of the United States and enemies of the Holy Alliance, the Vatican, and the Jesuits, would die on the same day? The day they died was the 50th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. Autopsies were not performed on the former presidents, and it was assumed that they died of natural causes. Another strange coincidence would be the death of James Monroe on yet another 4th of July in 1831. Monroe left office in 1825 and supposedly died of tuberculosis 6 years later. It should be noted that the symptoms associated with arsenic poisoning, difficulty in breathing, dryness and tightness of the throat, seizures, and burning pain are similar to those of tuberculosis. George Morgan commented on these strange circumstances in his book, The Life of James Monroe. Morgan states, as John Adams and Thomas Jefferson had died on the 4th 5 years before, Monroe's death added to the wonder, as though a power aloft had taken cognizance of the peculiar patriotism of these mortal men and had translated them. Is it possible that the power aloft was not from heaven and was not benign? Perhaps this power was not looking at the nationalism and patriotism of these men with joy as much as with a vengeful eye, as the Jesuit oath clearly states. A Jesuit vows to make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, as I am directed to do, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poison cup, the strangulation cord, the steel of the poniard, or the leaden bullet. Others have even pointed out George Washington's sudden death in 1799 as very suspicious.
There is evidence that the Jesuits assassinated a few American presidents before the war between the states. The first president they assassinated was George Washington. He was poisoned with anthrax. One of his 3 attending physicians was behind that poisoning. Remember, from the day he took sick to the day he died was a mere 2 to 2.5 days, according to Headley's great work, The Life of Washington. So he was murdered. There is evidence that the Jesuits attempted to assassinate a few American presidents before the war between the states. The first president they assassinated was George Washington. He was poisoned with anthrax. One of his 3 attending physicians was behind that poisoning. Remember, from the day he took sick to the day he died was a mere 2 to 2.5 days, according to Headley's great work, The Life of Washington. So he was murdered.
Why would the Jesuits want to kill George Washington? Like Jefferson, Adams, and Monroe, Washington was first and foremost a nationalist and warned against foreign influence. He promoted a policy of neutrality and the avoidance of European alliances. Washington repeated his isolationist policy in his farewell address that was published in newspapers throughout the country. Washington wrote, "It is our policy to steer clear of permanent alliances with any portion of the foreign world." Besides this admonition to avoid foreign alliances, Washington loudly declared America should keep itself free from foreign influence. Against the insidious wiles of foreign influence, I conjure you to believe me, fellow citizens, the jealousy of a free people ought to be constantly awake. In addition to these publicly expressed opinions, Washington had acted swiftly to put down the Jacobin-inspired Whiskey Rebellion in 1793 with 15,000 troops. Instigating the rebellion was the French ambassador Edmond Guinet and the revolutionary Democratic clubs that had sprung up in America. Guinet and the Democratic clubs were linked to the Jacobin clubs in France. In her book, World Revolution, Nesta Webster states, these Jacobin clubs were organized by the Revolutionary Committee under the direct inspiration of the Bavarian Illuminati. The Jesuits created the Illuminati and were thus working through the Democratic clubs in America. Washington never realized he was taking on the Jesuits when he crushed the Whiskey Rebellion. John Adams became president after Washington left office. During John Adams' administration, war with Illuminati-controlled France was averted, but Washington made it known he would not resist a call from Congress to assume command of the army. Furthermore, Washington endorsed the passage of the Alien and Sedition Acts that were designed to protect the United States from the extensive French Jacobin conspiracy. It is therefore no wonder that the vengeful eye of the Jesuits was focused on George Washington. After leaving office in 1797, Washington lived only 2 years and 9 months. From the onset of his illness in 1799 to his death was a mere 2 days. As with Monroe's death, the symptoms leading up to Washington's death were difficulty in breathing, tightness of the throat, and burning pain. Washington was only 67 years old when he died. Like Jefferson, Adams, and Monroe, there was no autopsy with Washington's death. However, the Jesuits made sure they had a servant on hand, Tobias Lear, to carefully plant the story that Washington had neglected to take off his wet clothes after coming in from his day of riding about his farms in snowy weather. Washington had taken cold, undoubtedly from being so much exposed the day before, and complained of a sore throat. Lear said this even though Washington explicitly told him that his great coat had kept him dry. According to Lear, we are to believe that George Washington, who survived the hardship of a winter at Valley Forge and other severe winters, did not know how to take care of himself in bad weather. The more likely truth is that Washington had opposed the plans and schemes of the Society of Jesus and was assassinated for his interference. Other American presidents, both in the 19th and 20th centuries, who would run afoul of the Jesuit order, would meet untimely deaths. For instance, the short presidency of William Henry Harrison. Harrison had been elected president on March 4, 1841. He would serve as president for only 35 days. At the end of March, the newly elected president came down suddenly with an illness and died. Many thought this was the result of his long inaugural address, which lasted over 2 hours in cold weather. But Harrison had been fine after the speech, and weeks had passed since the inauguration. Why was Harrison assassinated? One only has to go to his inauguration address to find the main reason. Harrison stated in the 4th paragraph of his speech, "We admit of no government by divine right," believing that so far as power is concerned, the beneficent Creator has made no distinction amongst men, that all are upon an equality, and that the only legitimate right to govern is an express grant of power from the governed. Like other leaders in the past, Harrison was thumbing his nose against the Holy Alliance, who practiced the divine right of kings to wield power as sanctioned by the Pope. Harrison was also unwilling to accept Texas, a slave territory, into the Union, which ran against the Jesuit plan of using the slave issue to agitate and divide the northern states from the southern states. Unlike Adams, Jefferson, and Monroe, the Jesuits did not wait for the 4th of July to eliminate the heretical President Harrison. Harrison was poisoned at the end of March and died on April 4, 1841. Vice President John Tyler succeeded Harrison as president. The annexation of Texas was accomplished in 1845 under the watchful eye of the new president. Another president who died suddenly in office was Zachary Taylor. Taylor was elected president in 1848. Taylor was a Southern slaveholder who did not want to see slavery extended to any more areas of the country. Like Washington, Taylor was devoted to the Union of the American states, was very popular, and was a military man. Another crisis over slavery occurred by the Jesuits in 1850. A compromise was being pushed to avert a split in the Union. Taylor did not like the compromise being worked out in Congress. On July 4th, 1850, Taylor attended the groundbreaking ceremonies for the Washington Monument. He was fine upon returning back to the presidential mansion. Then he became ill after eating some raw fruit that some say was a bowl of cherries. A violent fever came upon him. Senator Benton commented that the violent attack commencing soon after his return to the presidential mansion. Old Rough and Ready frustrated his assassins and managed to fight the poison for 5 days and avoided the 4th of July curse. President Taylor died on July 9th. The Jesuits removed a strong, unifying leader and replaced him with a more malleable president in Millard Fillmore. Fillmore signed the compromise in 1850, just 2 months after Taylor's death. As the Jesuit agitation of the American states was reaching its climax in the 1850s, a trial occurred in 1855 at a courthouse in Illinois that would bring two faithful men together. These two men would join forces to fight the Jesuits. The first was a rebellion.
All right. We're going to stop it there. So, as y'all can see, they put presidents in office, whack the ones they don't like, and put another one in office. When you have this type of power over a government, how do you give that up without a war? We haven't heard of any government war. Our government has not went to war with itself other than the Civil War. And we already figured out that was rigged. And we about to hear that. I mean, well, we're going to break that down in Clubhouse. That's the thing. But just look at how many, like, I had no fucking clue they killed this many presidents. Bro, we just heard 9. And it's more. I didn't know they killed this many presidents. So that literally means they put in and remove whoever the fuck they want. How could you have this kind of power? This was only 100 years ago. How did they give it back? When they give the power back? Because I didn't hear nothing. I didn't hear nothing. I'm trying to figure out what makes y'all think they would ever relinquish this type of power. And now, remember, they had America built. They were wielding power. Remember, while they're doing the American Revolution here in America, they're tying all their loose ends like a mob movie. Like in The Godfather, in the end when Michael had everybody whacked, he got his brother and he was getting everybody that betrayed him. He whacked them all in the end. That's what the Jesuits did. While they building America over on this side of the planet, they go back to Europe and whack everybody that sneaked this. We already established you don't kill world leaders unless you got somebody to take their spot. The people they were killing were the leaders who had them banished. Which means either when I kill you, I already have somebody prepared to take your spot. But let's just say I don't. You think the next motherfucker that take office want to get riddled with bullets? I'm sure he's seen the last motherfucker we turned into Swiss cheese. So when we approach his ass about signing this next bill, that motherfucker gonna get signed. And like, man, I'm about to open up the clubhouse room, and then I'm gonna show y'all. We're gonna break down the Titanic and all this shit, man. It's yeah, man. This shit is heavy. I'm gonna show y'all what happened with the Titanic, how they built the Federal Reserve. We're gonna go all the way through what they really did. I'm not gonna play, man. I'm gonna show y'all that this Kamala Harris Trump is trash. Knocked everybody off. So we got to think they got baggage from 83 countries. You a damn fool if you don't think 83 motherfuckers didn't pay. Why would they stop? Who stopped them? Who stopped them? If I got the power to hit 1, 2, 3 world leaders, I can hit whoever the fuck I want to. These are world leaders. These ain't chumps. These are people who run whole countries with armies behind them. I done infiltrated the country. We ain't shot off one missile. I done slid into the country, made him drink poison, slid somebody else in, and don't nobody know shit. Like they say now, if you know, you know. That's the only people that be knowing. I didn't know none of this shit was going on. So they so cold, fuck waging war. They just slide into your shit, turn it belly up, have one of your people make you drink bleach. Man, this shit crazy. It's a little bit worse than I thought. I mean, I knew it was like, but this is like, they really on 007 shit, bro. They really just infiltrate, poison, and keep it moving. That's why I told y'all wars is not real. Those are conquests. And the reason why they letting you see it, because it's a ritual. So they televising the ritual. They're about to sacrifice these people. Ain't no win or lose. They picking targets and detonating them. And they doing it together. Man, look. All y'all was talking about Putin gonna do this and Putin gonna do that. Man, that little bitty ass country Putin fight with whooping his ass. They talk about Putin troops jumping ship. Putin troops jumping ship talking about they need to surrender. I'm laughing. It ain't funny, but the only thing that's funny is because y'all don't listen. If we would just listen to each other, we could do way better than what we do. We scared to admit what we're really in. This is the spider web. You're not in the garage where there's spiders at. You're in the spider web. Try not to be dinner. It's planned rituals and innocent people be losing their lives. Yes. All wars are televised rituals. You got to think about it like this. When they show us footage on the news, they'll show a couple rockets shooting off into the air, and then they'll tell us what's happening. As the America fires on the insurgents, and they'll give us a breakdown. We don't see nothing but 10 seconds of footage. Bitch, if you think that camera ain't recording every second, they got orders to follow. And so somebody need to watch and make sure the orders got followed. All of that shit is recorded. This is a televised ritual. You heard them say, oh no, y'all didn't hear that. You're gonna have to come to Clubhouse. We finna go to Clubhouse. I ain't gonna spoil it. Listen, check it out, right? Where we at? I don't know who all this is in the comment section or in the room, but look, no, whoops, I'm tweaking. But that is that Rome on repeat. Y'all need to go on TikTok and check that out. But that ain't what I was trying to do. That's all I was looking for. Conscious Conspiracy Cave. We in Clubhouse in 30 seconds. I feel like yeah, we finna go to Clubhouse. I'm finna open up the room now. So y'all don't meet me there, beat me there. We're going to Clubhouse right now. Wait a minute. Y'all ain't getting off that motherfucking easy. Knowledge is the only real power. Information is the only real currency. But the application of both is the route to divinity. I love y'all. Now I'm gone.